Hi, I'm Matt,
And I'm Misha.
and in today's video, we're going to be talking about guardrails. Guardrails have to do with how we manage and control the behavior of a large language model. Misha's recently written a really good blog about this, and we're here to chat about how guardrails work and how they can be implemented on a large language model project. We'll use as our example MindGPT, which is our open source project where we're building a large language model to answer questions about mental health. So I guess, Misha, we start with the most basic question, which is, what is Guardrails?
So Guardrails is a set of systems that you put in place to define the boundaries of a large language model. So we either define what the model should do and what path it should follow, or instead we define what things the model should avoid.
So these are rules and they live outside of the large language model itself, right?
They are usually done by using outside libraries like Nemo or Guardrails.ai. In some cases, people write their own things because guardrails can mean really different things.
Sure. And usually when people talk about guardrails, they're thinking about, how do I prevent my model from discussing a topic that might be controversial? Maybe it's something like, how do I build a bomb? You don't want the large language model talking about that. So there's lots of obvious examples where guardrails are useful. I wonder if you can comment on, in the case of MindGPT, where we're working with mental health related questions, why are guardrails important here?
Well, mental health is a sensitive topic on its own, so we want to avoid giving harmful or misleading advice. That's one thing. Another thing is, since this bot is supposed to talk only about mental health, we want to prevent it from talking about other topics so that the system is not abused.
I see, yeah, so we're keeping it on topic. I feel like there's certain humans who could do with these kinds of guardrails, actually, including myself, just to keep me on topic. So can you talk about how we configure guardrails to work with MindGPT?
Yeah, so we are using Guardrails.ai library, which is designed in a way that we pass a user input to it or the model's output to it, and it tries to fit it into a predefined model. So for Guardrails.ai, we need to define two things. One is what model the input should adhere to. So in our case, we want the user input to contain a topic. So we want to find a topic of this, and we want this topic to be of mental health related. So we define two fields for the model, the topic, and this description helps Guardrails to construct a prompt, which I will talk about in a second. And we add a flag for, is this about mental health? Is the question related to mental health? Is that false? Etc., etc. And the second bit that we want is the prompt. So Guardrails uses a large language model under the hood to try to fit its input to the model. So in this case, we want to determine the topic and decide whether it is mental health or not. So we give this prompt, we pass the user's question to the prompt template, and we have this magic prompt. And we use this magic prompt bit to tell the large language model to respond in a certain way that Guardrails.ai understands.
And so it's large language models all the way down, right?
Yeah. So we in a real system we have two calls, one to the Guardrails large language model, and then if everything works, if the guardrails are not triggered, then we pass it to the model that actually answers the question.
Okay, great. Well, maybe we can have a demo of how this stuff works.
Yep. To simplify things, I will only query the guardrails.ai itself. Yeah. So if we import the guardrails that we've just defined, and we can call the guardrails with a typical question that MindGPT would be asked. So what are symptoms of depression? And we expect the guardrails to determine its topic correctly and say that this is a mental health question. And indeed, topic is symptoms of depression. And is this a mental health question? Yes, indeed it is. And at this point, this question would be passed down to MindGPT's LLM.
So it's been able to assess what the topic is. Like, it's actually quite fine-grained as well. It's not just saying the topic is depression or the topic is mental health. Yeah.
I mean, LLMs are stochastic and LLMs are smart in a way. So sometimes the topic is really high level, sometimes they're really fine grained. But what is more important for our case here is that it is correctly assessing if it is about mental health or not.
Yeah.
Because we can ask another question that is not about mental health. Got any suggestions?
How about... Well, I know what one you've used in the blog, which is which team is better, Manchester United or Manchester City?
Which team is Manchester City? And we expect this to be determined as football and definitely not about mental health. Well, not football, sports. But yeah, it's definitely not about mental health. So at this point, the guardrails will be triggered and this question will not be answered by MindGPT. Instead, there will be a hard-coded response that we cannot talk about sports.
And like you say, this is a little bit stochastic in how it makes this assessment. So in this case, it said sports. Maybe you might want it to say football is the topic. It doesn't really matter because the is mental health thing is the important thing here. But it's just interesting how it can be fine-grained in one case and less fine-grained in another.
Yeah. I mean, probably some prompt engineering on top of it might do it, but yeah, might make it more predictable, I guess.
Yeah, potentially. Okay, so I'm trying to think of another controversial question that's still not too controversial for the video. How about this? How do I make my own vodka?
How do I make my own vodka? That's... I don't know.
I mean, it's not controversial. It might be a tad bit dangerous.
I mean, yeah, a little bit. Somewhat illegal in some countries.
Have you made vodka before, Misha?
No, I didn't. But yeah, the topic is determined and it's apparently not about mental health, so MindGPT will not help with that. You can try asking different LLMs. Maybe ChatGPT can do it.
That's an exercise for the viewer to see whether ChatGPT will or will not tell you how to make vodka.
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting demonstration. Thanks, Misha. And if you want to know more about how guardrails work and how they've been implemented on MindGPT, you can check out Misha's fantastic blog, which we'll share in the comments. And until next time, I'll say goodbye. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Okay.